In the global namespace, Deno has a ton of APIs that you can take advantage of. Let's take a look at a few of them. So here we're going to await deno.open. We'll pass in the name of the file that we want to create. The second argument is going to be an object where we'll see read is true, write is true, and create is true. Excellent. Now if we run this, Deno main.ts, this is going to ask us to allow read access. So we'll say yes. Then it's going to ask us for write access, which is, again, pretty cool. So we've granted both, and now we have a file called thoughts.txt. If we wanted to write some data to this file, we could make some adjustments here. So let's create a variable for our file. Then we're going to add here append true as well. We can get rid of create, I suppose. Then we're going to say const encoder equals new text encoder. Then we'll create a constant here called data, and we'll say encoder.encode. And then we'll add a string here, new line. I think basil is underrated, which I do. Then we'll say await file.write data. So take that data and write it to the file. And then finally, we'll close the file. Cool. So we'll run it again, but this time we'll say Deno allow read, allow write, and then we'll say main ts. Taking a look back at our thoughts, I think basil is underrated. That's appended that to our file. There are some other options as well. So let's go back to the top of our file. This time, instead of using open, we'll use read file. Very specific about what we actually want to do here. Then we'll console log that file. And this is going to give us our encoding for this, which isn't quite what I want. I actually want the text. So what I can do here is I can say read text file instead. I'm not a robot, so I don't know what that means, but I know what that means. It's going to write it directly to our console. We also have the option to say await Deno write text file thoughts.txt. Fall is a great season. And now it did write that old message, but it overwrote everything here. It's also possible to add to this. We'll say append true. Now we'll replace this with winter is the most fun season. Now if we run that again, it'll write what we had, but then it's going to append that to the end. So I could make that nicer with a new line, and that'll work for at least the second one. So those are some of the more common methods that we have access to on the global namespace with the file system. Now, we also have the option to explore command line arguments. So we could say const name deno.args0. So if we take a look at what this actually means, we're going to say Deno main.ts, and then we'll pass in some sort of command line argument. Here we'll say Eve. If I want to get fancy, we can pass that into the template string there. Also on the global there, we have environment variables. So let's create one called home deno.env.get home. And then we can console log our home directory. So let's go ahead and run that. We're going to run Deno main. Deno will request environment access, as you might expect. We're going to hit Y on that. And this is letting us know that this is our home directory. And then finally, our trusty server constructor here, we can create a handler that returns a response. Then we'll say new response It's happening. Deno.serve will pass the handler in. And now we run Deno main.ts and we'll say -n. Now it's listening on 8,000. Back to our browser. It's happening. Nice. So there are a ton of these that you can take advantage of, but it's very nice to know that we don't have to include an external library for everything. Deno has us covered when it comes to managing errors, handling servers, and working with the file system.